So finally, Bank of Canada has raised another 25 basis point today and has pushed the overnight rate above 5%, and the prime rate is over 7%. So this was expected, already priced in, but we're going to talk about in this video, why they keep focusing on the unemployment rate when it comes to predicting the inflation, that it should come down significantly. And in order to bring it down, they have to jack up the unemployment rate. This goes back to the Phillips curve. This was, somehow presented back in 1958 by a New Zealand economist, and he actually kind of published his theoretical model where there is an inverse relationship between the inflation and the unemployment data. So in order to increase the inflation, you have to have the unemployment low, and if you want to bring the inflation down, you have to jack up the unemployment data significantly higher. So that is the concept that a lot of economists, especially the central bankers like Jerome Powell and Tiff Macklem, also they also refer that we have to increase the unemployment rate above 5% in order to bring inflation down. But in reality, it doesn't make sense. Like, if you read about Phillips curve, it doesn't really work in the long term. Like, it can work maybe in the short term if you want to somehow predict the model to see how the inflation will react as the unemployment goes up and down. But in the long run, it never worked. To be honest. So this doesn't make sense when these mainstream economists and the central bankers consistently refer to this Phillips model theory, where it doesn't really work in the long term in the history. But anyway, so they are also saying that they're predicting inflation to come down to 2% sometime in 2025. I also challenge that statement, because if you look at the month-over-month CPI, it is trending down. Like, we have a base year effect where we saw the first half of 2022 was highly inflationary from a month-over-month reading perspective, but then from the later part of the 2022 and to this date, the inflation has been on a monthly basis trending downwards, or it is not even spiking up. So when you look at that, and when you also look at the PPI index, which is the producer price index, that is a leading indicator predicting what's going to happen in the CPI in the future. That is also declining on month-over-month basis. So when you look at that, you can conclude easily that the CPI, or the inflation, the way they measure, is going to trend downwards over time. And very soon we should be able to see 2% or close to 2% CPI in Canada, considering if there is no catastrophe happen in the global economy, like the oil prices doesn't shoot up, because that is one of the major factor bringing inflation down. So according to their own words, one of the main reasons why the inflation is down is the lower oil prices, energy prices in the global economy, which means that their interest rate did not work to bring the inflation down. So anyway, this is just a little bit of sarcasm, but this is what the central bankers are really focusing on. So I don't know if you can make sense out of it, but to be honest, when I look at the Phillips curve, it doesn't make sense to me. And whatever the factors that played in terms of bringing inflation down, they are not really interest rate sensitive. So oil prices are not interest rate sensitive. So one of the major factor that brought the inflation down is lower oil prices, and that is not interest rate sensitive. Housing is, the credit card is, the car loan is, but again, we're seeing the house prices are kind of not really crashing hard, as a result of the higher interest rate. They're kind of staying moving in the sideways because of the lower inventory. But anyway, this is just my thoughts, where I think the Phillips curve is an outdated theory, and I don't know why they still keep their head stuck into this unemployment versus inflation comparison, because it doesn't work. Like, history shows it doesn't work most of the time. Maybe in some occasions, in a short period of time, it may have worked, but in the grand scheme of things, when we look at it, it doesn't. Like, even if you look at 2020, when the unemployment shoot up like 10%, the inflation never brought down. it was still, floating around the same range. Inflation only picked up in 2021, and by then unemployment was already trending downwards. But anyway, this is just my food for thought. Let me know what you think about the inflation and unemployment, and what do you see where this inflation is going in the next year. And as I mentioned in the last video, I don't see the interest rates are coming down unless there's the big massive recession comes our way. I don't see there is a need to cut interest rate at this time. Anyway, let me know what you think. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Thank you.